The Women of Power Summit, brought to you by gotkushTV on Sunday, the 6th of September, 2020. Shining a light on the illustrious legacy of African women, past, present, and future. Featuring performances and presentations from Arikana Chihombori Kwao, Esther Stanford, Jose Afiong El Afiong, Runoko Rashidi, Tony Warner, The Goddess Neith, VVN, Selena Akigwe, Angie Amra, and Ari Ma'at. Hosted by Yemeya. This is an online event taking place on Sunday the 6th of September from 5 p.m. Get your half-price tickets now at gotkushtv.co.uk/events. It's the Women of Power Summit, brought to you by gotkushTV. Certainly an event not to be missed.
gotkushTV.com is now opening for you to advertise, calling all businesses, promoters, event organizers, artists, service providers, content creators, and brands of every kind. If you are looking to share your business or services with a growing and diverse audience, gotkushTV is the space for you. Advertising space is available all over the website. You can advertise here, 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 and you can even advertise here. All spaces are going at very reasonable rates, and we even have a design and production service, especially for those who will need an advert designed or produced for you. For inquiries, don't hesitate to contact us. info@gotkushtv.com. Advertising on gotkushtv.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Greetings, family, greetings, and welcome to another edition of Quarantine Convos. I know you've been missing us. Oh my days, Quarantine Convos has been on hiatus for the month of Messiah, but not to worry, kings and queens, because gotkushTV kept the channel flowing for you throughout the entire month. We hope you have been enjoying your summer. You know what I'm saying? Although if you're there in England right now, boy, them say summer over, you know, it done. Yes, indeed, kings and queens, because it look like, you get me, the coconut aisle hard up, be a hard up coconut aisle about the place right now, you know what I'm saying? So it looked like the summer done, but we pray for at least a few more hot days, kings and queens. The summer has been relatively good, so welcome back to Quarantine Convos on gotkushTV. We hope that you have been feeling our content production throughout the month of Messiah in relation to Marcus Messiah Garvey himself, in relation to the Reparations March, in relation to the formation of Forever Family, the demonstrations against the mask wearing and all kind of different things, kings and queens. Enough things are going. And so you don't know your number one conscious platform is keeping it moving for you. And we hope you all appreciate it. In the house, we want to big up all the people in the chat right about now. Namastu to Sister Ali Ma'at in the building. Namastu to Patrick Paul. Namastu to one name we can't pronounce, but we're going to try to tell you where. DM Iruana. DM Iruaya. DM Iruaya. Yeah, we like them name there. We got them name there, you know what I'm saying? Western Goddess. One next funny name. We're not going to let one there. You know what I'm saying? Demarius. Brenda Lee. Greetings, my sister. Kimberly Brown. Yeah, man, the whole of the chat right now, kings and queens. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you hit the like button as you come through. Make sure that you share the video far and wide, yard and far and kick up, and let them know. Say, gotkushTV is live right now for Quarantine Convos. And oh my days, what a beautiful, 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 beautiful subject we have for you today, kings and queens. In lieu and anticipation of the fantastical, phenomenal event that will be taking place this coming Sunday, the Women of Power Summit. We are profiling the subject of the divine feminine and woman of power. Yes, indeed, kings and queens. Divine, feminine, and woman of power. I can see the panel is full up right now. We're going to introduce everybody in a second. Let me just let you know about what is going to be taking place on Sunday, the 6th of September for the Woman of Power Summit. I guarantee, kings and queens, you do not want to miss anything. I got Guan on the 6th of September from 5 p.m. We have an illustrious lineup for you, featuring former ambassador of the African Union to the United States of America, the woman that was fired from her position for speaking out in relation to the neo-colonialism currently being perpetrated by the French and other Western governments in today's world, kings and queens. She goes by the name of Adikana Chihombori Kwao. Yes, indeed, kings and queens. She will be featured on the Women of Power Summit. We also feature key #1 reparations activist in this dispensation of time, the one and only Sister Esther Stanford Jose. And as if that was not enough, we are also featuring a fantastical international Pan-African organizer of the Moyo Wataifa Pan-African Solidarity Network. Yes, indeed, kings and queens. She goes by the name of Afiyong El Afiyong, joining us all the way from the West African nation of Nigeria. We are also going to be featuring the goddess Neef, as you've seen on gotkushTV, the Blackest Truth. We're going to be dropping the exclusive, hot off the press video from one of the rising stars of our spoken word vocalists out here in the community right about now. She goes by the name of Vivian, profiling, launching the video for Summer Breeze. We are also featuring 2 brothers on the Women of Power Summit, kings and queens, because the women of power must be honored by African men of power. Yes, indeed, kings and queens. And as African men of power, we take great pleasure in elevating and honoring our queens. And so we're going to be featuring 2 brothers, stalwart brothers in our international black community, the legendary Renoko Rashidi. If there are black people anywhere in the world in history, Renoko Rashidi will find them and let us know where they are. And also Tony Warner of Black History Walks. I tell you this, it was the Black History man himself, Robin Walker, who said that Tony Warner is the king of UK Black history. This is the guy. Both Brother Renoko Rashidi and Brother Tony Warner will be just doing presentations, bringing out the history of African women of power in Mama Africa and in the UK, kings and queens. And finally, we have added to the bill Sister Angie Amra to open up the vibration, bringing the ancestors and the divine forces. Yes, indeed, kings and queens. We also have Selena Akigwe, the creator of the Umoja app, and also Sister Ari Ma'at. Yes, indeed, kings and queens, of the Black Economic Collective over there in Saudi Arabia. You don't know, kings and queens, it's going to be major. You saw Sister Ari Ma'at co-hosting the Black Group Economics All Dayer in the month of June in support of Black Pound Day. For more information, check out gotkushtv.co.uk/events. gotkushtv.co.uk/events. I'm not even going to spell it out because I know that all I know got a good school. But just to let you know that we have a recession-proof ticket giveaway right now. The tickets are in fact £10, you know, kings and queens. But right now, we know say, listen, COVID and recession and can't go to work and when they say universal tax credit and all them something there. So we have given you we have restored the recession-proof half-price tickets, kings and queens. So the tickets are all £5, half price right now. So make sure you take advantage of your £5 ticket and jump in on the Women of Power Summit. Yes, indeed, family. It is our pleasure to profile the women who are movers and shakers in our black diaspora in this day and age in various areas of people activity. You don't know. I saw gotkushTV do it. I saw things figuan. Just true says lockdown don't mean so we pop down. And so today, kings and queens, once again, gotkushtv.co.uk/events. And we're going to be giving you a little taster, a little snippet, a little wet appetite for that event tonight, kings and queens. You're getting all of this love, you know, for free tonight as we bring you all the way from the US of A, the one and only Dr. AJ Varma, also known as Barsesh Haru Hotep Tar. Yes, indeed, kings and queens, in their country, you know what I'm saying, over there in the United States of America, in the hills and the gullies them. And right here in the city of London, we are joined by our sister, Tefnut Amun Ka Apep. Yeah, man, we love them name, the kings and queens. I want to say it again because it's so nice. Tefnut Amun Ka Apep. Oh, you mean kings and queens? Yeah, man, return to the roots of our kings and queens. If you don't have an African name, get one because nothing sounds sweet upon the tongue. Trust me, I am mean. But kings and queens, as my co-host today, we have a brother who is no stranger to gotkushTV. Yes, indeed, kings and queens. One of the original hosts of gotkushTV. He currently has a show entitled Hold a Meds with the Ankh Doctor. And so I'm here in a supporting role today, kings and queens, because he will be, you know, leading most of the conversation. So right about now, excuse me as I hand over and make way to the one and only, the Ankh Doctor, the Wamotef and Ankh. Namaste to the Ankh Doctor.
Namaste to you, Shakara. Yo, you should have your own comedy program, bro. You are different class. I'm telling you, on another vibe, my young brother. I have to applaud you first and foremost. Namaste, Tenda Mairi. Namaste to our honored guest, Dr. AJ Varma, Barsesh Haru Hotep Tar. He is the scribe and spiritual leader of the Holy Qubtic Church International, alongside Sister Tefnut Amun Ka Apep. Aunt Tefnut, as I'll probably be calling her throughout this broadcast. So we're going to chop it up in regards to the African precepts and principles of the divine feminine. And when we look at the divine feminine precepts and principles in the news, Barsesh, welcome, namaste to you, my brother, my teacher. We seen in the news lately where Beyonce was featured as Haru, the guardian angelic host of joy. So this was a sign of the divine feminine coming forth, amongst other things happening amongst our females at this present time throughout the world, where they are excelling and reaching the very top of society. So when we're talking about divine feminine first and foremost, and we see that precept in ancient Africa, could you give us the source of where it's actually coming from in our culture?
When first of all, let me just say namaste to everyone listening in, and namaste to all of you on the panel, and tendamato to all of our brothers and sisters, such as Shakara from Al Kubaland. When we speak of the divine, right? When we speak of this idea of divine feminine, it's something that goes back countless millennia, countless hundreds of thousands of years to the original mothers that at one time on Earth, all life was female. In fact, in all earth sciences in school, when we study biology, we learn about that daughter cell, and that the daughter cell was the first cell, and they'll tell you and I in one breath that it was asexual, but then in another breath, they'll call it a daughter cell, which is an admittance that it has a gender. It can't be asexual and be daughter. Not the last time I checked, right? Except nowadays, the way we're doing it. So this asexual cell or daughter cell was the primeval life form that all of us come from. Archaeologists and paleontologists and anthropologists, they'll talk about the oldest bones to have been found, whether it's Arthropentine, as they call her, from Kenya or Kenyan woman, or Arthropentine, who they call Ethiopian woman. All of these, or some call Lucy, All of these were female bones found older than any other bone fragments or groupings of bones. And these bones were not just found, but they were found with bowls and plates and tools. So these highly intelligent females is where the idea of a divine feminine comes from. And it's where we as melanated people, where we originate.
I was doing some research and looking up science of something called parthenogenesis, whereby they were explaining where partheno coming from Greek virgin birth. Is this the when you're talking about females were the original asexual cell on the planet? Is this where the Greeks now talk about it as parthenogenesis?
Out of the asexual cell, they say the asexual cell does the same thing that happens when human beings copulate, when a man and a woman come together and they conceive a child. They say that the cell goes through a process called mitosis on into a process called meiosis. It splits. The cell goes into 2, then it splits into 4. The 4 splits into 8. The 8 splits into 16. The 16 into 32. And then the 32 split into 64. At that point, that's that daughter cell splitting, replicating itself. At that point, it goes on to form inside of the zygote or the embryo different organs, from heart to brain to kidney to spleen to pancreas, etc. But that's where it comes from. And these divine mothers come out of that. Earth grew these divine female mothers in Africa at the base of the Niger Delta. Everybody talks about the Nile River Valley, but they don't want to admit that there was a Nile River Valley. There was a Bantu migration that took place out of sub-Saharan Africa, or what they call equatorial Africa, or the Niger River Valley or Niger Basin. So these divine beings who had grown at the Niger Delta, historically in time, these mothers, for the sake of food, looking for more food, more waterways, as they began to have children through what you're referring to as parthenogenesis, which they'll say is virgin birth, simply creating self from within self. You follow? The Bible grabs that and says, from Adam, they took a bone and made Eve. From self creating self, you are now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. But the Europeans got it backwards. Being male-dominated societies who had a disdain for females, they would reverse it and give this man the ability to perform parthenogenesis when he does not, none of us as men, have the ability to split that cell. In fact, we're all walking around with nipples on our chest, which is supposed to only be there for the purposes of nursing our young. We all have it in this room, the 3 of us, but the only person, the 4th, the sister, the divine feminine, who's here with us, Sister Tefnut Amunka Apep, she's the only one who can actually use it. So you and I are the defect that came out. And from that life force, when we go in the mirror right now and stand in front of a mirror and we look at our pecs, if we have any, right? If we lift weights or do push-ups or whatever they are, if we don't, right? We see that splitting of the cell with the 2 nucleuses inside the center.
How is it, Rev, today in modern religious teachings, especially in the West? We don't hear about that divine feminine principle or that divine feminine precept. How come it seems to have been eliminated from Western theology or thinking or religious thinking?
Because Sister Tefnut and myself, we were talking about the subject, right? We were talking about this conversation that we were going to have. And she made a really interesting point to me. The idea of it hasn't been talked about. And she mentioned, and I'll ask her if she doesn't mind stepping in, right? Because she's the only female on this panel. So really and truly, she's the only one that should really be talking, right? But I would ask her, she had mentioned something to me. She said, well, Rev, there's this thing called black girl magic. And I would ask Sister Tefnut, if you don't mind, if you can help us understand it, maybe in fact this divine feminine is something that's being spoken about, if you don't mind.
First of all, let me say namaste to everybody who's tuning in, who's watching. Namaste to yourself. Namaste. Peace and blessings to everybody listening or watching in today. So the black girl magic is something that has been around for centuries, has been around, but what they tend to do is not speak about it as black girl magic. They're talking about it now as if it's something new that's just come around the corner. But in fact, it's gone as far back as, as ancient Kemet. Now, for example, Black girl magic has existed as far back as, you have the women who, in NASA, there was a movie that came out which Taraji played one of the
Hidden
machines,
Figures?
they called them.
Hidden
I
Figures?
can't remember them.
Hidden Figures?
Yeah. Right, yeah. And they spoke, and those were those Black women who were able to do things that the machines could do, that they, well, now machines are doing, but they were able to do. That was that Black girl magic. You have women that's able, high up in technology we don't hear about, but you hear snippets of them. That's that Black girl magic. In every field, those women who are breaking records and opening doors, that's that Black girl magic that's been around for centuries, for hundreds of years. But they call it Black girl magic. But in fact, in ancient Kemet, it was actually called Heka. The Egyptologists take it, Heka. Yeah, the Egyptologists take it and say Heka. But what they don't realize, and when you do some research on the internet, they actually, you can see the wording spelled as Heka or Heaka, but you look at it, we know and we've heard of the forces of Huhi, Heka, and Sia. Yeah, but Heka is actually it. That's the feminine force. That's that Black girl magic which they're speaking about. And it has been in, but what you find is when you do some research on it, they will say, well, there's no temples for that, that Heka, but they have an image, and the image is that of that you have two arms. He has the car with the sign of the two arms raising up to the sky, because that mother, that feminine, that divine mother, taught him each day to raise his hands in Sila. And it speaks about Sila within your Bible. In Psalms, it talks about Sila and raising your arms. So that Black girl magic, that Heka, has been around all the time.
Rev was talking about the Europeans being, or the Caucasians being, female haters. Is this the reason why that female precept or principle is not found within religious doctrine?
Absolutely. Because what you'll find within their religious doctrine, or what their religious dogma, what they tend to do is they actually portrayed it as though the woman or that female was not important. The fact that she didn't play a part. When you even if within their, they talk about the he. It's always about the he. Now, don't get me wrong, right? That Black girl magic, yeah, that divine feminine that she has within her, Heka is a male, but Heka or Heka comes through that divine feminine force, which is hidden away. And even within different religions, they talk about the, Christianity, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And even in the Holy Ghost, they refer to it as a male or a he. When they speak about God, they refer to it as he, the Most High, he. And they can't be talking about the Most High when they're referring to it as a he, because the Most High does not have that gender. The Most High, as we know it, yeah, Anere, is the mother father, yeah, of all generations, mother father. You understand? It's not a he. So what they did was, in order to annihilate and take that so you don't realize that you have that power within you. As females, we don't realize the power, that divine energy that we have within us. So what they did was they did the flip-flop on us and said, we don't have it. Let's change places. They convinced us. They did that magic. When we think about magic, we think of what do you call them? Magicians.
Magicians,
yeah, which is all based on illusion. So what they did was they gave us the illusion that it didn't matter. They gave us the illusion that you don't have that magic. They gave us the illusion that they were the ones who had power, which is when you look and you see most of their movies, who's the superhero? When you look at the savior, who is it? When they always portray the same race, the same type of person as the superhero or the savior, so that you would look to them as having that power. They're the ones who brought in technology. They're the ones who's ruling. They're the ones that's doing that. When in actual fact, it's actually you. So yeah, you can see, why would they then take that away from you and make it seem like it's them and not you? So you could have that self-hate, so you could destroy yourself, so you don't have that innate power that brings forward for yourself. So yeah, there is a type of hatred that goes on, and we're teaching that black girl, that you know, that divine feminine. We're teaching our women, our females, that you have that power and to love yourself. And in order to invoke that divine energy to come forward, you have to embrace that and know that you have that.
When we take a look at the Holy Qubtic Church International, do you have a trinity of sorts, as in you see in the sister face of Christianity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit? What would the precepts of the Holy Qubtic Church coming from ancient Africa, how is it taught?
When you look at ancient Africa, we have, for lack of a better word, I'll say guardians. They refer to them as deities or gods. We would say guardians, because they had different guardians for different things. And you had Khnum, and Khnum was like the fashioner who brought in. Yeah. Then you had like your mother, Asset. And Asset had a child always sitting on. Whenever you look within, you know, going back as far as Egypt, even though they bring it forward, that mother, that divine feminine female, always had a child, and that was likened to your trinity.
So that trinity precept is found in ancient Africa as mother, father, and child?
Absolutely. Yes, yeah. It is. It's mother, father, and child. And whenever you read about anything, even when you go back, you know, far back into ancient Egypt, or far back into ancient Tamaray, as we like to refer it as, you know, you will see the stories of the Trinity. There's always, or you had your Asaru, you had your Asset, you had your Haru, yeah, and that was your Trinity, you know. But they then came forward and changed those names, which the Greeks came in and changed it to Osiris and Isis and Horus, you know, and they then trickled that down into your father, your son, and even in between there, you know, you have certain Roman Greco stories that filtered through and talking about the Father, the Son, you know, and then the Holy Ghost or the Spirit is the one that's unseen. Because even within Roman or Hellenism, it talks about Julius Caesar. And I won't go too much into that, but it talks about Julius Caesar, and it talks about how he had, you know, his son looked up to him. And when Julius Caesar died, they also looked up at him as the unseen, the Holy Spirit. So within that, all those stories go back to ancient Tamaray. Those three, there was always a trinity there. But we didn't worship that. We didn't put that in place as that's the only. We just overstood and we acknowledged and we gave reverence to those different guardians.
So in ancient times, one of the things that we researched and we're learning is that the females played very prominent roles in ancient African culture and ancient African society. Where we are in the West, and it tends to be a very male-dominated or patriarchal society, we tend to look, whether it be West Africa, East Africa, South Africa, we often see that women were given very prominent roles of leadership, whether it be as military leaders, whether it be as economic leaders or political leaders. Could we expound a little bit more on that in the roles of our ancient females or our divine feminine? When we hear of the names of Asset, when we hear of the names of Heru, when we hear of Ma'at, when we hear of Sekhmet, when we hear of Hatshepsut, what roles did they actually play within ancient African society?
Okay, so for example, you mentioned some of those names, and Asset, Ma'at. We know that Ma'at was, you know, divine, is the law, is balancement. You know, we know that Asset, and if you look at the story of Asset, it talks about how there's one story, if you research it, or Egyptologists say there's one story where Asset, her grandfather, who was Re or Ra, she wanted to get that that secret or sacred name so she could rule. So that when she got that name, now she held her grandfather to ransom, and she was able with that secret name to hold power. Even without that name, even without that story, she was the wife of, Asaru. She was there and she stood beside him. You have Taweret, which they don't emphasize too much on. When you look in ancient Tamaray, you'll see they have what is known as a calendar. And on that calendar, within the center, you have Taweret. And Taweret was the guardians of those babies or giving birth. You had Nebtut, who was beside her as well, who was ruling beside her. You also had Ma'at, who was the scales, who had that balance. The scales were your heart was weighed on, on the things that you did and whether or not your balancement, your deeds, would it balance out or equate to your heart, So even within ancient times and even bringing it forward, women have always been of a power force within our story. They always were the ones who upkept. So they're overlooked as something like, okay, yeah, she ran the house, or yeah, she was beside him. And they have, sayings which I don't feel like people really give it enough credit to when they say behind every great man is a woman or a female.
Next to you say behind, next to.
Well, you say next to, yes, she does stand next to him, but she is also, when we say behind, it's not a bad thing. It's not something bad, because she is pushing him. She is pushing him to be that great. She's pushing him from behind because she is the greatness, the power that comes from her to him.
Come on.
Yeah, so it's not that she's behind him. She's not behind him like to say he's thrown her back. She's behind him because within her is that black girl magic that's enabling her through that divine force of Heka to push him forward and make him great. Because, and like I was mentioning earlier on, when you see that, what they refer to as Madonna, when you see that mother and child, the child on her lap is her son, right? And the reason why it's her son is because she gives birth to that child and enables that child to become, they become our husbands, our fathers, your brothers. They're, the great leaders of our time. All those men that were able to lead, you think that Shaka Zulu was doing it by himself. His mother played a great part in it. There is all that, most of those great men, there was a woman helping. We help in the office as we push. Yes, okay, we're in the office. But you know what? That organization exists because of our mental, because of our black girl magic. Okay, so we don't walk one without the other. What we have to understand as females, as women, to hold that black girl magic and use it in the way that we can, or we should, is to have our male beside, our counterpart beside us. A great teacher once said, you can't really work, or you can't walk with one hand tied behind your back.
That's true. That's real. Right.
So what we're saying is, our men, our brothers, and our husbands, we push them, they push us, we work together. Together, you're making it one. And it's not about leaving one or the other behind. So within our story, I say our story, for lack of a better word, of history, within our story, those women have sat in prominent places, always been there, pushing forward for the nation. Remember, there was a time where we had a matriarchal society, and that matriarchal society was run by the divine feminine. Yeah, that society, you had societies called the Bullhorn Society, and when you look at certain guardians, and they have on top of they have the mascot. The bull was the mascot. And when you have that, and you see upon their headdress, the bull.
Sorry to cut you. This is what I was talking about earlier. What Beyonce just brought into, when you're talking about that black girl magic, just brought forth, and a lot of people misconstrued it or didn't quite understand it. And went into another tangent. Sorry to cut you, but continue.
Yeah, no, they don't. One of the great things is that the women are speaking about black girl magic. That's fantastic. Now we have to understand what the black girl magic really is,
Yes.
and how do we use it,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we bring that forward in us in order to use it, because there's no good saying black girl magic and you don't have a clue as to what it is really, what enables it, what enforces it. So within our time, you have your Winnie Mandela's. How was she able to do what she did? Her husband was away for 27 years and she fought that fought. How was she able? What helped her to do that? You had Mariemba, who recently passed away. Mm-hmm. You had, some of the great warriors. Her name just got out of my head. Asantua. How was she able? How are they all able to do what they did and still have their husbands and look after their families? Because they understood that within them, they have that divine Heka. We are lobotomists. We are medical scientists. We are top sports people. We are doctors. We are nurses. We are heart surgeons. We're in every capacity. And most of the time, we're leading the way.
When we talk about Mother Nature, and we talk about that feminine force and that feminine energy, before we tie it into how that energy is working today, that energy, Rev, if we could ask you, you wrote a book, Solar Biology versus Lunar Astrology, where you were talking about the masculine and the feminine polarity and the importance of it. Could we expound on that a little for our listeners so they can get an insight into that divine feminine energy coming out of Mother Nature and the universe? Your mic.
Oh, okay, I didn't mute it. He just unmuted it. All right. I misplayed it. Right? What Sister that is referencing, I think, is before we go into the divine energy coming from the earth. Secular history and religious history in the African theology were never separated. I'm going to say this again. It is only in European history. It is only in Indo-Arab history. It is only in Indo-Aryan history that there's a separation between spiritual records, books, teachings, and political records, books, teachings, and historical records, books, and teachings. When we separate the political history from the religious, it makes it seem as if they're three separate things. But in the Niger River Valley civilizations, in the Nile Valley civilizations, in the Tigris-Euphrates Valley civilizations, in the Amazon Basin civilization, in the Mississippi Delta here in North America civilization, there was never a separation between the political, the historical, and the religious. So when we looked at the Bible, the original books of the Bible, before the Greeks Hellenized it and turned it into a Septuagint, we understood that Adam, when it says Adam was created by God, we looked at the language of it and saw in the language of it that the word there was Elohim, and it meant a group of beings. And we understood that when they said, let us make man in our image, Genesis 1:26, and give him or give them dominion over fish of the seas and fowls of the earth, we understood that the us speaking there had to be more than just a masculine God, but had to also be feminine deities or feminine ancestors or feminine guardian angelic hosts or females. Okay. In fact, so much so that in the Bible, they say male and female created he them and called their name Adam. So Adam, biblically speaking, is not an individual. Adam is a group of males and females, created he them and called their name Adam. Some would even say that Adam came from the dust of the earth. So now let's look at that from an African theological perspective, which would include using science. God takes and forms man from the dust of the earth. This is where that divine feminine force. Well, the dust of the earth in European theology, earth is lifeless, is used to be mined and drilled and siphoned for her resources. But in Africa, in the Caribbean, in North and South America, in the Indus River Valley civilizations, earth was seen as a predominant planet, maiden of life. But when we spoke of the 4 primordial elements of earth, we said earth, soil, wind, breath, water, blood in human beings, fire, the burning, blood pressure. And we overstood, or the sun, that what happens in nature happens in us. We labeled each of those 4 primordial elements, we attributed to a certain ancestor or guardian. We said fire, Set, Sutuk, we called it. We said earth, Geb, man, soil, flesh. We said wind, Shu, 3 men. But when it came to the predominant element of the planet, water, we said Tefnut, female. When we spoke of heaven, we said Nut, female. So we understood that if God, looking from an African perspective, which we have a right to have, if the Arabs can have theirs and the Jews and everybody else, we need to have ours. If God is shaping man of the dust of the earth, that's the earth, and breathing into man of the breath of life, that's the Shu, the wind. And the fire is the Sutuk, giving you a blood pressure. But that water, the human body is 75 to 85% liquid. The planet on which we live is 75 to 85% liquid. Yeah. That portion was that Heka. Sister Tefnut is saying to the Bible and say Eve, they said, I'm going to put enmity, Genesis 3, between the woman's zira. Didn't say the man's zira, said the woman's seed. The woman's seed. The woman's ability to reproduce. So Adam was in fact taken from a female, not Eve, but he had a mother. The people who were saying, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, amongst those people, there were females standing, and a new type of Adam was being created. A new event was taking place. So now, to your question, solar biology said there is no separation between you and I. As Sister Tef was saying, the divine mothers sat with a child in her lap. Eve said, behold, the Lord has given me another son, given me, not Adam. This is your Genesis chapter 5. Behold, the Lord has given me, end of 4 going into 5, another son instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And she named that son Sheath. And that name Sheath means 6, as in chromosome. The chromosome responsible for all at the 6th chromosome. That you today, more men die from COVID than women, because the disease. But those of us who understand the disease processes, the disease attacks the X chromosome. Because females have 2 X's and males only have 1, we tend to die from most illnesses more than them, or we carry any genetic defects that they have on one of their X chromosome, mother passes it to son, such as baldness. Baldness is something hereditary from the mother's side on one of her X chromosomes, which she passes to her son. The divine feminine force, they call it he, literally. Who he. English took he, H-E, or H-I, which on the atomic level, if I wrote H1, that's hydrogen. Yeah. If I wrote He, that's helium. Helium is stable. Helium is feminine. African cosmology, African theology takes everything that happens spiritually, it happens politically, it happens biologically, it happens astrologically, it happens in every aspect. We said microcosm of the macrocosm, as above, so below. So that divine feminine spirit from earth, the he, which in science they call centrifugal, It is the force, as my sister just said, that pushes us. It pushes life from the soil upward, and that's called levity. The masculine force in earth science is called centripetal. It is the pulling force. It's the force of that which impregnates or comes down. We're not saying that men have no importance. We're men, so I wouldn't be saying that. What we are saying is, in order for us to overstand our importance, we must overstand the importance of she who gave birth to us. We must understand the importance that she holds, because even she, when she hears that she's divine, she doubts it. Because the Hellenists took control. The Romans, the Greco-Romans said, "Oh, and I are trying to find an answer historically, politically, or an answer socially, or an answer religiously, or scientifically." We always run to them. We need to understand that there's forces, and I want anyone listening into this conversation to understand we are not saying that the Bible is wrong. We're saying whoever translated the Bible is wrong. The Bible says a man will leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So whose idea was to make a woman leave her tribe and go to the man's tribe? Because that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says, out of Eve, her name Eve means his name don't mean father of all living. The Bible, I will put hostility, enmity between the woman's seed, your devil, and the woman's seed. So the Bible is, if we look at it, even in the English, with some African glasses on, the Bible is clear that the female was first, to the point that the female, some will say another earth, above, on high. But that's not another earth. It's just a different theology. It's not a different planet. It's a different theology. We're talking African theology as opposed to European theology, as opposed to Arab theology. But because we Africans have for so long, melanated people, not known our own theology, not being given the right to recognize, we end up separating it and just saying the Bible is wrong. The Bible's not wrong. The Quran is not wrong. It's who's translating it. If I'm reading the Quran and the Quran says I'm created from alaq, a congealed blood, the only congealed blood that you can use to bring forth life is a female's eggs, or the female's menstrual, the shedding of the lining that she goes through every month. No other congealed blood is used scientifically to bring forth life. But the Greeks, because they loved men and hated women, and they literally love men, right? The Greeks, because they had such a love for men, their men, white men, not us, were trying to find a way to make sure melanin power, black girl, the Heka magic, and I ain't talking about smoke and mirrors, but the true magic, the alchemy, the alchemical formulas. He knew this. Henrietta Lacks genes. Henrietta Lacks are the genes that every laboratory on earth has been doing all their research on. This one black woman that every cure to cancer, to high blood pressure, to diabetes can use. That is proof that the females were first, not mother. See, they even use the word mother as if to imply other, less than. She was more than mother. The word they use, even in the Shemitic Hebrew or Arabic, they use the word ummi. Ummi does not merely mean mother, it means source. The sound of existence. They call it Om in Buddhism. They call it Ain in Islam. They call it Hongmina, Hedi Hong, Hongmina. Every literature culture has this principle of vibration, and every baby knows it. When babies are nursing, they grab their feet and they start humming. When they cry, mom, no babies ever cry, dad, 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 not in any language. I've never heard Abu, Abi, Wallah, no babies ever cried for father. But babies indigenously from the womb understood the sound of creation, looking for that black dot. looking for the primal dot, the primordial source, the sun, the breast, the nipple, the source of all life. This is, again, not to throw away the Bible. The Bible has its place. The original scriptures have its place. So is the Bible. The Bible is solar biology, but we've got to look at it with African eyes. Stop letting, especially you sisters, because you got so much power. You got so much power, but it's so hard to teach you. Believed in this white doctrine so long that when somebody looking like you, a sister like you, or a brother like you comes along and says you first, we're the first to stand up and say, I ain't first, I'm last. I like being saying no, not more. Her name wasn't Eve in the Hebrew. They put Eve as in the word evil. The word Aba. The word is tribal leader. The word for female, Ishu. But they take the word Ishu and then say your feminine menstrual cycle is your feminine issue. All of these little games that they play semantically to mess up the mind of our, and only way we black people are going to win. We've got to bring it all together. We've got to take the biology, the history, take the science. We got to take the politics. We got to put them all together and remove Greece and Rome and Turkey and Arab lands and Aryan and everybody's crap out of it and put it together. African eyes, African hands, African mind, African tongue, African goals, African aspirations. And when we do that, oh, that's that black girl magic. That's the black girl magic. I don't got a problem with black girl magic. I come from a black. What else's magic do I want? I don't want white magic. White magic ain't gonna do me no good. We need that Heka power, that spirit, that spirit that allows, it engenders life. You can't grow no crops in a garden without the female spirit. Try to go grow you some crops without some soil or some water. I beg to differ. It cannot happen. So that's what that energy we're talking about.
Come on, man. Well done. No worries. Excellent. As Harry, you're explaining that divine energy, that divine power that is female. As we bring it up to date and we look at what's happening in the world today, and we see that gene Isis, and you also explained the gene Nasarian. 4, 5, 6 years ago, you did a great seminar, World Realities, where you was explaining about all of what's taking place with Black Lives Matters, the shootings, the marchings, etc. All of the similarities between the features and the faces, etc. Could you just touch on that a little bit in terms of the danger that is being placed on our females at this present time? Gene Isis, we look at Breonna Taylor, and we look at what recently happened to George Floyd.
Sure. First of all, let's be clear. The Adam and Eve story, the Moses story, being placed in a basket and the Pharaoh wanting to kill all the baby boys born in Egypt. The Jesus story, having to leave and go and hide in Egypt because Herod wanted to kill all the baby boys. This idea of the seed of the woman, right? The Jews will say Eve slept with the devil and gave birth to a son, Cain. Some Christian ministers will grab it and say the serpent's seed was Cain. No, Cain said, who finds me is going to kill me. Cain said, whoever finds me is going to kill me. Cain went to a land called Nod, and when he got there, he married some people, and he was afraid of some people there killing him. That was seed, and Cain married amongst them, and out of that line comes another Adam. See, when you look up Adam in the Bible, they give you the Hebrew. When you click it, it says, the Bible says 2 Adams, which came from the first Adam. One Adam was a white Adam. That's the Adam of the Europeans. And they called him, in their doctrine of the Greek and Germanic doctrine called the Edda text, they talk about their Adam and their Eve, and their Eve's name was Pandora. That's Greek Hellenistic doctrine. Then another Adam is the East Indian, Aryan branch of East Indian, and they had their Adam. Then you have the African Adam. The problem again, everybody's grouping, they're just saying Adam, but no one's saying, hey, African people, did y'all have an Adam? And what was your, you follow what I'm saying? When we take all of that, to your question, when we take all of that and we look at the world today, the gene Nazarene, If I'm a Christian and I can see that when Christ was supposed to be born and they started killing all the baby boys in hopes of killing Herod and them, Christ, and I can see when Moses was going to be born and they would started killing all the Israelite boys in hopes of preventing Moses from being born, then why are we not asking, why are they killing? Okay, if we're living in the end times, come on, and Christ is supposed to be returning, speak to me. If Christ is supposed to be returning and we're living in the end times, maybe somebody is trying to prevent the rebirth or the return of Christ. See, you can't see it because it's black bodies. And you don't believe in your mind's eye that the Messiah, the Christ, the Kodesh, was an African or melanated person like you and I. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a gene being the devil's seed. They don't care about where you are. They care about where you're going. They care about preventing you reaching the heights that they know they cannot reach. And they understand that without you, not only can they not reach it, they can't even perceive it. Like the sister said earlier, hidden colors. Simone Biles, Oprah Winfrey. We can just list all the great women today and yesterday, the Winnie Mandelas, the Betty Shabazes, the Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, all of these great women, all of them, and what they were doing. So again, the African theology, cosmology, political, historical, we call it Rel Sol, heard the great Neely Fuller. The religion, the economics, the labor, the sex, gender, the education, the law, the war, security, the entertainment, the politics. The education encompasses all our history. All of their history, our history, any history, learn it all and know where they all fit in and how it got changed and who changed it. African Adam and Eve story is Geben Nut. Geben Nut precede the biblical story. The biblical story comes out of Geben Nut and Shu and Tefnut. They were the let us make man in our image. You understand? And we wasn't creating Europeans yet. Europeans come from the other text. Europeans come from the European Germanic mysteries called the Edda text. And their Adam was called Pros Edda. The word Edda is the word Eden. E-D-D-A-E-D-E-N. Eden, Edda. That's their story. And they got us fighting as Christians. They got us fighting as Jews. They got us fighting as Hebrews. They got us fighting as Muslims. All of us black people arguing from one perspective, but nobody willing to do the homework, to do the due diligence, to do the research, to have a body of work that says, I'm going to spend day and night uncovering, unraveling, looking for the missing pieces so we can put it all back together as one. Because everybody's sitting here, we all got some family member that's a Christian. We all got some family member we got some Muslim. We got all of that. So how do we reach all this family members if we're going to chop them all up into different categories? We got to look for the Africa in Islam and reclaim it. We got to look for the Africa in Judaism and reclaim it. We got to look for the Africa in Taoism and reclaim it, or Taoism. We got to look for the Africa in Hinduism. We got to look for the Africa in Judaism, Islam, bring them all back together, because that's what makes us take interest in those things. Is because the Africa has been misplaced, misput inside of those things. It's time we reclaim it, and we can only do it with the divine feminine and the divine masculine. The Jean Nazarene, when you look at Tawana Brawley back in the day, Eleanor Bumpers back in the day, on down to Cassandra Bland of today, on down to Tamir Rice, on down to Eric Gardner, and we just keep listing, unfortunately, name after name, because we won't see who the serpent seed is. The serpent seed still walks the earth in human form. He's your bus driver and your pilot and your stewardess and your grocery store manager. Hell yeah, and the police officer, let's not forget them, and the fireman, and the EMT and the EMS doctor, who looks in your eyes and has such a hate towards you and me. Now, we can't hate them. We just got to replace them, remove them out of the equation of our lives. That's what the Gene Isis and the Gene Nazarene. Gene Isis, the all-seeing sisterhood, a group of sisters who have walked this planet, as the sister Tefnut mentioned about the Bullhorn Society, have walked for countless generations, and no matter what, have always stood by and behind and in front, to the left and to the right of us, put centrifugal is it is a pushing force that's necessary to propel us to move past the adversity and overcome for the sake of the future. The centrifugal force, the masculine force, has to be engendered by the feminine force. And then that masculine force then can impregnate the feminine force. We need each other. The Chinese call it yin yang. We call it ma'at. Some call it shin and shan. Some call it to and fro. Everybody got a name for it, but we got to work together. Because other than that, we're losing. While all of us conscious people are so busy preaching and yelling and screaming and trying to out-talk each other, Saad Netta versus Alibaba, Alibaba versus Umar Johnson versus and somebody else versus that somebody else. And while all that chaos is happening, we're losing. The feminine forces. The Nation of Islam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was in prison for not going to the draft in the Korean War, who ran the Nation of Islam? The great mother, Clara Muhammad. She was the one writing back and forth to Malcolm X. She was the one converting Malcolm X. But then when men do the movie, then she ain't even mentioned Clara Muhammad, isn't it? The great Betty Shabazz. If it wasn't for the great Betty Shabazz, we wouldn't know the things we know of our brother Malcolm X, one of our Qubtic saints. If it wasn't for Amy Jacques Garvey, we wouldn't have the records and writings and speeches of Marcus Garvey. So what would we be? Without Garvey's writings, there is no Mandela. Without Garvey's writings, there is no Castro. Without Garvey's writings, there is no Libya, Gaddafi. Without Garvey's writings, there is no Elijah Muhammad, who was a member of the UNIA. Without Garvey's writings, there is no Martin Luther King, who read the works of Garvey. So Amy Jacques Garvey, one of our Qubtic mothers, one of our babies, one of our Qubtic popes, she was the divine feminine, because Garvey died and she made sure his works survived to where you and I in 2020 can read it. Without Coretta Scott King, there is no Martin Luther King holiday, because she fought for it at her own peril. But his story, European influence and Arab influence and Aryan and Oriental influence history, makes it their business to remove women out of the records, makes it their business to remove women out of the scriptures, makes it their business of women out of every aspect, like they did to our great ambassador, pushed her out of the African Union. But that didn't even stop her. She didn't even break stride. She just said, watch me now. That's that Heka power. That's the divine. All right.
And we're looking forward to having her this coming Sunday on the Woman of Power Summit, Saturday the 6th of September. £5 requesting proof tickets. Yeah, we got questions coming in on the YouTube and also on the Instagram. So we're going to hit that up. Before that, I want to ask Sister Tefna Amun Carter Pep. Auntie Tefna, you gave a great breakdown and class on the African Holocaust and the role that women have to play today, especially with everything that the Nubian Mennonite community has to face. Could you expound a little bit more for that for sisters? Because I often say sometimes we have to get into asset and Hathar and Taweret mode as well as Sarah Connor mode. So you gave a great breakdown about the role women have to play now, especially with the incoming New World Order. Could you expound on that a little bit for our listeners out there? Then we're going to hit you with a question.
Oh, right. Okay. Just repeat that again when I spoke about
the role of the females and the important role that the females have to play in this day and time, especially when we see with everything happening, COVID, the upheaval, political upheavals, etc., and the important role that the women have today in the struggle that's taking place, bearing in mind how the system looks to separate male, female, how the system likes to bring forth something called feminism, how the system likes to,
right?
If you see where I'm going with that, this question, right. So, yeah, made it clear. Thanks.
Yep, absolutely. Right. So, I mean, even touching on the feminine aspect or feminism aspect, when we spoke about during the African Holocaust Month, and even like now, just generally speaking about women and their role, it's so, I mean, I can't express just how important the role of the female or the women are. and just what we do. Because what happens is we tend to think that men have played or been in the platform, in the forefront for so many years. Now it's our turn. Now it's our turn to step forward. And what we're grabbing onto is a doctrine that is not ours. You know, we for however long. One of the things we spoke about when I spoke back then was our way of life was to bring the family forward. Yeah, the male knew his role, we knew our role, and together, combined, we brought the family into play. And the family strived forward and went forward. And we were heading that way for so many years, and we were winning. We were on top. And then came in the European or the Greco-Roman or everybody else and said, okay, well, we'll just disseminate this. We'll just take this apart and we'll give you this. And they did the cup, the trickery, the illusion, and said, which cup is it under? And we picked the wrong cup. Instead of saying, we don't play that game. This is our culture. You know, look at certain societies. I think it was Japan that turned around and said, you know what, we're locking this off. You're not coming here and bringing your crap in here. This is our way of life. Now we then took that on to the point where we're now looking, we have, religions where we're now looking at other than self and kind. Why am I? And we have to teach our children this, because our children in Catholic schools or religious schools, or even in just general in schools, are going to be taught that, this, straggled hair, long hippie looking person is Jesus. He has looked nothing like you. So when the child questions, because I know when I was younger, I questioned. So if that's Jesus, do you know what I mean? Then, and man is created in God's image, then who are we? And where did we come from? It's downplayed. It's almost like, well, we're the God's people and you're not. That's it. But we have to understand, hold on a minute. Every culture, when you look around, they look to their gods who look like them. Yeah, you look to Japanese, you're looking at someone that looks like them. When you look at the Asians, they're looking at somebody who looks like them. You look at, the different Oriental nations, they have somebody that they have on their wall, they have their little offering table, and on there the picture, and it's somebody look like them. The Arabs say they don't have no picture, but yet they show the armpit, and it wasn't Rev's color, that's for sure. You understand? So that gives an indication, right? Sorry, we're being haters. It wasn't dark. So we have to understand our role and who we need to look up to. And when we start to recognize that we have to look to ourselves, we have to look at the image of who we have come from and the power that we in our image holds within us and the role that we have played for hundreds of years. Yeah, that's always kept us going. And now we've changed that. And now we've changed roles. And now we want to join, European feminism. How's that working out for us compared to how it was working out for us and what we were doing?
Politically, feminism was about Caucasian women trying to get rights. It had nothing to do with black women whatsoever. There was no. And I think some sisters are realizing that as they get into this feminist sisterhood, that it's really good. I'm glad you as a sister said it, because if me and Rev had said it, that was it. It would have been. Stone at you. So I'm glad you explained it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look in history, especially British history, the women wanted the right to vote. So they were taking off their bras and throwing it around the place. Oh, we're not going to be in the house no more. We're not going to do that. Well, hold on a minute. That's not our way. Do you know what I mean? We had hand in hand, we walked together and we held this family together. Most of us will know that your grandmothers or your great grandmothers, if you remember them, held that family together. And, like my grandmother, she made sure no matter what happens, that family must come together. If you're too busy, if you're doing whatever, at least once a week, everybody in the family needs to come together. She held that family together. My grandfather worked the land. He went out to work, he paid the bills, he made sure the money came in the house. The one who was holding the family together was the feminine, was the female, that divine feminine. And our roles today, we need to kind of get back to that. Don't worry, you know, we need to forget all this. Oh, the man's telling me what to do. No, 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 no. He's encouraging you to become your greatness, being put back where we were. You know, we're not, you know, taking on somebody else's life, someone else's image, someone else's culture does not work for us. We cannot be in somebody else's image. We cannot stand in someone else's land and pretend to look like them and say we have black girl magic. It doesn't work, because you need to be standing in your own, with your own, hand in hand, and saying black girl magic. Now you look like you're becoming, and you're going to embrace that black girl magic. You cannot look like somebody else and talk about black girl magic. Now, you know, I recently heard, I didn't even know it was Adele. I saw a picture of a female in Bantu knots. I didn't see that word.
Save the Bantu knots.
I think I saw your post and you mentioned, I said, I wouldn't even know that was her. I don't know, it's just another person. Another white female, you know.
Yeah, I was laughing because people were saying she can wear what she likes, she can have a. I was just saying save the Bantu knots. That's all I was saying. Them teeth, you know, we let it go. Next they'll be telling us Adele invented the Bantu nuts, like Bo Derek invented cane roll and all these kind of things. Save the Bantu.
Well, you know. If she said it's the Bantu knots, right? One of the things the debates is those people that's debating. I haven't seen the debate, so I don't really know what's been said and what's not. But I do know this: if you don't embrace your culture, and if you don't embrace the images or the things that's being passed down to you, then someone else is going to take it.
That's right.
So all you're doing is handing it over on a platter. So when someone else just takes it, you're going to complain and say, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Because you're not doing it. Look at what they're doing. They've taken your religion, broke it up into pieces and given it back to you as something else.
Come on, break it down.
They've taken your image. Now, you know, obviously they're working hard to get the butt. You know, they want to be brown or tanned. They want your lips. They're taking your hairstyles. Before long, they're going to be saying, we're the real Africans. We're the real Caribbeans. These people we don't know about them. We're the originators of the earth. In fact, they're already saying it. It's only because now where, you know, this force is coming into play where people are starting to wake up. And I'm glad people are starting to wake up. And as we've mentioned, you know, all these people, all these things are starting to happen. Now our backs against the wall. Now we're like, okay, we ain't got nowhere else to go but be ourselves, but return back home. So you know what I say? For those women, those men, return back home. Because within atonism, within the Holy Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah, we say, you know what? Join the Qubtia. Because we have that. We embrace that. Nobody's not taking that away from us. And that's why when you look at the females, when you look at the women within the Qubtia, within the Holy Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah, when you look, you'll see us wearing our vests, our long skirts. You'll see us wearing our attire because we embrace that. This is who we are. Don't be ashamed of it because everybody else is taking it. So when you're ashamed of it, they're saying, thank you, we'll have that. So it's time. And I'm glad people are starting to wake up and realize, you know what? We only have ourselves. So you know what? Put it in place. Let's do that now. No more talking. Wake up, people, especially our women. The role that our women play, the divine, that energy, that force. We have our wombs, and our wombs are a powerhouse because our wombs bring in nations.
Come on.
No man can come through. I don't care what you want to change, what doctor wants to take away what and put what in place. No man can come true. Nobody can come true without coming through a female, through that womb. Even if you say it was in a test tube, where did they get that from? Even if they say they had to take that from somewhere, and that divine feminine, that woman, her fallopian tubes, which throughout history you can see everywhere, even in the double helix. When you see the two snakes going up, also represent the fallopian tubes. Now that's black girl magic.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Duamotef, yeah. May I interject briefly?
my co-host, yeah.
I just want to throw something in from the wisdom of our ancestors very quickly, yeah. And this is it's a bit of an extensive reading, but I believe it, and this is beautiful to spiritually ground what is about to take place on Sunday, the 6th of September, with the Women of Power Summit. Yeah, making sure that we have the right spiritual foundation and in understanding, all other aspects of the areas of people activity, yeah. But in our Yoruba ancestors developed a knowledge system which is referred to as the Oduifa, yeah. And there are many words of power within the Oduifa. So I just wanted to share this particular reading, which is from Osa Meji, and hopefully people get something from it to understand, yeah, and add to what has been shared before in terms of how our ancestors dealt with issues of womanhood, yeah. Like I say, it's a bit extensive, but so bear with me. But yeah, I won't be too long. It says, this is the teaching of Ifa for Odu, Aborisha, and Ogun. When they were coming from heaven to earth, Odu asked Olodumare, Lord of heaven, this earth where we are going, what will happen when we arrive there? Olodumare, which is the creator, said that they are going to make the world so that the world will be good. He also said that everything that they were going to do there, he would give them the ashe, or the power and authority to accomplish it, so that it would be done well. Odu said, oh, Olodumare, this earth where we are going, Ogun has the power to wage war, and Aborisha has the ashe to do anything he wishes to do. What is my power? Olodumare said, you will be their mother forever, and you will also sustain the world. Olodumare then gave her the power. And when Olodumare gave her the power, Olodumare gave her the spirit power of the bird. It is then that Olodumare gave women the power and authority, so that anything men wish to do, they could not dare do it successfully without women. Odu said that everything that people would want to do, if they do not include women, it will not be possible. Aborisha said that people should always respect women greatly. For if they always respect women greatly, the world will be in right order. Pay homage, give respect to women. Indeed, it is woman who brought us into being. Before we became recognized as human beings, the wisdom of the world belongs to women. Give respect to women then. Indeed, it was a woman who brought us into being before we became recognized as human beings. And that's the closing of that particular reading there. Oduifa, according to Osa Meji. Yeah. So that's our Yoruba ancestors just, giving a word sound in terms of what was being shared earlier, I'm saying, kings and queens. But that was beautiful to me, because this is actually in the creation of the world. Yeah. Right. So from the creation of the world, the woman is given power, the woman is given agency, the woman is given knowledge. Yeah. In fact, knowledge is the possession of the woman. So if we want to seek knowledge and if we want to apply wisdom, we have to seek and bear witness to the power of the woman. And so I just wanted to just throw that into the mix. Yeah, kings and queens. But I hope ones appreciate something from that. Blessings.
Yeah, that was a great breakdown coming from the Yoruba doctrine. And we've got a quick questionnaire as we're going to start to wrap up. In fact, we've got a couple of questions here, but I'm going to take this one. Big up to all those who are currently in the live chat room. It's rather lively in there. Zahuti Amunre asks, how does the divine feminine and masculine activate the Heka or black girl magic? Thanks. How do we activate that black girl magic? Tefnut Amun Carter Pep.
Right.
Or if
right, we saw the question, but part of, and I know part of you all putting this together, gotkushTV, brother Nkosi, brother Shakara, Dr. Duamotef, was that you wanted to kind of make sure that, because a lot of people, we've been saying divine feminine, we wrote a book on it. The Holy Qubtic Church has been addressing the divine feminine, the rise of the divine feminine, the gene ISIS for years. And people grab pieces and bits of it, and they give respect from where they're coming. Even today, as Sister Tefnut and the other sisters, that are teaching the Bibi, Neptut, Satis, Hotep, and Sister Nefiru, as they're now going to tie black girl magic into the Heka. No Egyptologist has ever tied black girl magic into the Heka. None of them have ever equated black girl magic with the Heka. But after today, they're all going to start talking it, but they'll never give respect to the black girls who put it forth. So we are not going to reveal every answer in this forum. You'll understand what I'm saying? Because that's just how it happens. Sometimes it's so going to answer. I'm saying, join us. Come to our.
We seem to have lost the rev there. I don't know why we seem to have lost the rev. No worry. We got Tefnut Amun Kara Pep with us to take up the mantle. As he was saying, do you want to take it from there? Come join us at Holism Rising.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So it's like as Rev was saying, it's not about just giving out the exact answers and exactly what we're saying, because we did that. We spoke about the gene ISIS. We spoke about the divine feminine. We spoke about that magic that we have, and they've taken it and run with it and said black girl magic, not knowing what they're talking about really. So for us to then give exactly how you do that, next thing you know, they'll be running away with that and not give credit to where credit is due.
And what
so
Sister Tefnut, Amun Carter Pep, I interviewed Kahun Montutar, the Kahun of the Holy Qubtic Church UK, and he made clear the Gene Isis book, The Rise of the Divine Feminine, that Barsesh, Dr. A.J. Varma has written. The powers that be have already come to us in abundance and asked us to take out the black girl magic out of it and make it generic for all women, and they will push that as far as they go. Right, Pepper?
That's right. Yeah, they have done that. In fact, we get. Well, I've been told we've got a lot of that happening. That they are to simmer it down. But what they have to understand and what our women have to understand is, it's not about you, it's about us, right? We've had to take a backseater for years while you ran rampant, while we were unimportant, while we were, in the corporate office but weren't allowed in with our locks, while we had to go a shade lighter, while all the good, dark, Nubian Melaninite females had to sit in the back while the lighter skinned females were pushed forward. We've had to deal with that. So you know what? It's about loving ourselves. And I'm afraid that if you don't like it, that's your chair that you need to carry. Because right now it's not about you. It's about putting that love. It's about putting that power back into the Nubian Melaninite family. And that's what it's about. So we won't be dimming down anything for anyone. Yeah, we'll be rising in power. And that's why the book is called The Rise of the Feminine. Yeah, the divine feminine, the rise of the divine feminine. We ain't putting that down anymore. Those days are gone.
We were just talking about your book, Rev, as we're getting ready to wrap up and let people know more about the Woman of Power Summit, The Rise of the Divine Feminine, Gene Isis, and we was explaining that the powers that be had come to you and asked you to take the blackness out of it or the black girl magic out of it in order to make it more generic for everybody, and we refuse to do so, because you could be a very wealthy man right about now. If anyone listening to this live broadcast and anything that you said, how could they get hold of the book, Gene Isis, Rise of the Divine Feminine, or how could they get in touch with you or with the Holy Qubtic Church?
If they're in the UK, they can. Okay, well, if they're in the UK, they can go down to the Tree of Eternal Life store in Tottenham, and they can get a copy there. If they're in the United States, they can go online to www.journeyhomegroup.com, click on store, drop the down arrow to books, and you'll go right to the pages that have all the books on it. When we say that Gene Isis, Rise of the Divine Feminine, we're not just talking about the Black Mother. We're talking about the planet on which we live. Earth is defending herself. There was a bunch of people saying there's no such thing as global warming, there's no hole in the ozone layer. There was people saying Earth is not being poisoned, and she found a way to shut it down. She found a way to shut it down and keep us all at home. She found a way to get all the cars off the street, to minimize carbon. You know what I'm saying? She finds a way to defend herself. We live on this living entity. She's the ultimate divine feminine. She gave birth to the divine mothers, and they gave birth to us, her sons and husbands and brothers and fathers. But we have to respect saying just, oh, black woman, I'm in charge. No, or black man, we're in charge. No, it's saying respect the planet on which we live, and she will work with you. She was created by the Most High Heavenly One, what we call Anere. She was created as all the other great planets and stars and universes and constellations to give us life on this one. If we don't honor her, whether it's the Orisha or the Ginweens or the Shushuki or the Thunderbirds or the Malaikat Namos, whichever name you need, we're all one people living on one planet. I ain't talking about white people, I'm talking about us black people. We're all one people living on one planet, catching the same hell. We got to figure a way to bring it all back together as one. Because when we were Zulu and Iwe and Fanti and Malinki and Mandinka and Donongala and Afar and Effendi and Fulani and Tinanjani and Tuareg and Cherokee and Choctaw and Arawak and Mandan and Cheyenne and Seminole and a Mexim, all of these we were, and we weren't killing each other. We were working together. We were making things happen together. And every kingdom and queendom had a divine mother in that village. And she was the advisor to all the rulers because she was in tune with Mother Nature. And we did what was best for nature and understood that whatever's best for nature is what's best for the whole. As my sister Tefna just said, the most important thing is the black family. The divine feminine does not have any divine feminine if there's no divine child. And she doesn't have a divine child if there's no divine husband. So if we don't reconstruct and put back to the black family the way it's supposed to be by cosmology and history and culture at that, we don't stand a chance. So I ask anybody, reach out, watch, read the parchment, Gene Isis Rise of the Divine Feminine, but more importantly, tune in Sunday to the Woman of Power Summit. Don't miss the woman, and we're blessed. They lowered the price to £5. So those of you living in the United States, it just went $15 to about $8. So if I'm you, I get my ticket. It's going across the screen on the bottom. The Woman of Power Summit. Don't feel threatened, brothers. Support what they're doing, because what they're doing is the foundation we're going. The woman can crack the ceiling. She has the power to put the body of the Nazarene, the Asardian, of the African people back together again. Let's not be threatened. Let's support it. Let's understand what it represents. And in us doing that, it'll put us back in power.
Thank you so much. You know what? We could sit here and speak for at least another hour, but we don't have that long. That was so beautiful. Yeah. Sister Tefna, I want to invite you to hold the meds with me, please. Yeah. So we can expound a little bit more on the divine feminine. Okay. Yeah. So that was excellent, Tefna. Absolutely excellent. Barsesh, as always, thank you so much, my brother. Yeah, really do appreciate you coming forth and spending some time with us, because I know you're very busy. And Commissioner Karate is going to close the quarantine convos, but we say the divine or the divinity within you, and we look forward to having you on gotkushTV once again. Kush Community University, Rev, and Tefna on Hold the Meds. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed, kings and queens. Bigging up Barsesh Haru Hotep Ta, sister Tefnut Amun Ka Apep, and brother Ankh Dr. Duwamatef for setting the pace and laying the spiritual foundation for all that will take place on Sunday, the 6th of September, when it comes to the Women of Power Summit. Yes, indeed, kings and queens. This is going to be a beautiful event put together by gotkushTV to shine a light on the historical and contemporary and futuristic power of the black woman in today's, yesterday's, and tomorrow's world, kings and queens. You done know. Sunday, the 6th of September, from 5 p.m. onwards. As has been said, tickets are only £5, and you've got a phenomenal lineup featuring Ambassador Arakana Chihombodi Kwao, Esther Stanford Jose, Affiong El Affiong, the Goddess Neef, Vivian, the singer songwriter, releasing her new video hot off the press. Sister Angie Amra will bring in the energies of the ancestors and the divine forces. We got Sister Celine Akigwe and Sister Ari Ma'at. And if that's not enough, kings and queens, we have two brothers contributing and shedding light on this fantastic, beautiful, powerful feminine energy, which is the one and only Ranoko Rashidi and Tony Warner, who will be giving historical perspectives on the history of the black woman across the continent of Africa, as well as through our sojourn in the UK, kings and queens. Get your tickets now at gotkushtv.com/events. Once again, that's gotkushtv.com/events. If you are here and you are new to Gotkush TV, subscribe to Gotkush TV. Yes, indeed, kings and queens. And you know what I mean? Even if you can't make it, buy a ticket, you know. You know what I mean? Support the thing, right? Buy a ticket even if you can't make it, and support the things, kings and queens, yeah? And either way, sign up to our mailing list, which you can do on our website also, our mailing list. Yeah, make sure you subscribe to our mailing list to keep in tune with all things Wagwan. Check out Whole Med with the Aunt Doctor, yeah, currently on Gotkush TV. We got the first episode, and if you like my good looking face, then you can see me on the first episode, kings and queens. So do check that out, you know what I'm saying? You know, but I think Aunt Doctor's a bit more good looking than I am still, you know what I mean? So you can check him out every time. We're gonna be releasing a next episode, and it's a beautiful episode, kings and queens. Delve in deep.
Bro, hold on a second. You're telling the people that we're gonna release the thing, yeah? Because you're in the thing.
So in the edit. We can't talk about the editing process pan line. We can't do it. But soon come still. Soon come. We're getting there.
I'll do this soon come. Come, you know you're soon come.
Yeah, no. Soon. It's nearly finished. If it nearly finished, and if I wasn't minding my son whole day, I would have finished it today still. But yeah, we got the files properly yesterday. So you know what I'm saying. So yeah, it nearly done. So stay tuned. It soon come. But we've got a few episodes of Whole Meds with the Arc Doctor coming for you. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, that's going to be a good one. Looking into it's perfect for the back to school energy. Because we're going to be looking into COVID. And the back to school vibrations, and you know, we're talking to a teacher who is shedding some light on how the economic, the education system is responding and dealing, giving some advice in terms of how you as parents and carers and guardians can address your children with regards to the current situation and their education, kings and queens. So you don't want to miss that one. So stay tuned. Yeah, you'll get information about
the RAS them. Don't forget to pick up the RAS.
Oh yeah, I was gonna leave that. But okay, cool. Yeah, so Ras Natty Linda was also there breaking down the history and the earth story of Rastafari, especially in relation to this incident we had last month in Jamaica, where a young princess was barred from going to school because of her crown was blessed with the Nati, kings and queens, the Lux, yeah, as they say in Yoruba, the Dada, yeah, and so you know what I mean. This is very serious, kings and queens. So Ras Nati Linda goes in on some serious historical vibrations, and I kind of chipped in as well at the end there to bring some perspective as well. So do stay tuned for Whole Meds with the Ankh Doctor coming to the Gotkush TV very, very soon, kings and queens. Very, very soon. You don't want to miss it. All that's finally left for me to say is, once again, the Women of Power Summit, Sunday, the 6th of September. It's Virgo season, you know. Them say it's Virgo season, isn't it? Yeah, we're not going to go into that too tough, innit, kings and queens, but that's why you know, said the Women of Power Summit, yeah, the Women of Power Summit, 6th of September from 5 p.m. £5, yeah, recession-proof tickets, you know. Make sure, yeah, you get your recession-proof tickets, because the tickets were in fact £10, yeah, but we've reduced them to £5 just for you, because we know they're right now. Yeah, man, we know what we're going right now, kings and queens. So exactly, in honor of our audience, we have made the tickets £5, kings and queens. So we look forward to seeing you. You know what I'm saying? Dua Matef, give thanks. You want to say a final word before we lock off?
I want to say many thanks to you, my brother, as always, for facilitating the quarantine convos. Keep it up because they're excellent programs to watch, and you keep making us laugh as well. So keep doing what you're doing every time. Yeah, big up gotkushTV, and don't forget, Woman of Power. We're paying homage, to the females. Anybody who's seen our current posts know exactly what we're dealing with. Check out Ant Doctor on your Instagram. Check out gotkushTV on your Instagram, on your YouTube. Check out your Ant Doctor on Facebook, Darren Henry or Dr. Darren Henry. We say namastu, bow to the divine, and thank you to my co-host Shakara as always. Tenda Mari, my brother, and we'll see you Sunday,
Most definitely, kings and queens. You ain't got nothing if you ain't got kush.
The Women of Power Summit, brought to you by gotkushTV on Sunday the 6th of September 2020. Shining a light on the illustrious legacy of African women, past, present and future. Featuring performances and presentations from Arikana Chihombori Kwao, Esther Stanford, Jose Afiong El Afiong, Runoko Rashidi, Tony Warner, The Goddess Neith, VVN, Selena Akigwe, Angie Amra, and Ari Ma'at. Hosted by Yemeya. This is an online event taking place on Sunday the 6th of September from 5 p.m. Get your half-price tickets now at gotkushtv.co.uk/events. It's the Women of Power Summit, brought to you by gotkushTV. Certainly an event not to be missed.
gotkushtv.com is now opening for you to advertise, calling all businesses, promoters, event organizers, artists, service providers, content creators, and brands of every kind. If you are looking to share your business or services with a growing and diverse audience, gotkushTV is the space for you. Advertising space is available all over the website. You can advertise here, 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 and you can even advertise here. All spaces are going at very reasonable rates, and we even have a design and production service, especially for those who will need an advert designed or produced for you. For inquiries, don't hesitate to contact us. info@gotkushtv.com. Advertising on gotkushtv.com. We look forward to hearing from you.